Mural painting was also a very common feature that we see in Teotihuacan. In fact, most of the buildings were at one time plastered and generally brightly painted. Most murals that we find were of religious significance, or often warlike, depicting images such as jaguar and eagle warriors. The paintings were done on plaster, coated in clay and buffed to a high polish. So what they're doing is they're taking this clay, they're laying it down, they're applying this clay to it over the surface and buffing it. And they're using a very fine clay. Even today, you can find this clay. It's often used for water gilding, so applying gold leaf to frames. And you can apply it, and then you can buff it to an incredible shine. It becomes very hard. Well, that would be a great base to use for murals, and we're seeing them do that here. Now, usually we see very flat depictions using planes of color. So you're not going to see any European-style three-dimensional modeling. They're not trying to add a sense of volume. Rather, they're looking for symbolism, for representation, for relatability. Really basic ideas. Again, this is not an element of aesthetics. This is an element of style. They have chosen to do this. It doesn't mean that they aren't capable of creating three-dimensional forms or the illusion of three-dimensional forms. Now, the piece we're looking at is the Great Goddess. And this is a warlike earth goddess. Here on the left, you see the mural. On the right, you see a depiction, just to clarify some of the elements. This is possibly the principal deity in the city, but keep in mind, when we're dealing with Teotihuacan, of course, the Aztec will come across the city, the Spanish will come across the city. There are a lot of groups that come through. Every time a group comes through, they destroy or alter what they find, and therefore we lose context or understanding of what this piece could have meant, who this could have been. The Great Goddess is wearing a jade mask. That green color is a depiction of jade, something that we see amongst the Olmec, for example. And it does indicate some element of trade throughout Mesoamerica. Not terribly surprising. We also see pouring from her hands elements of the human form, including human hearts. So here's an aorta, for example. And here we have what is clearly a hand. But then they will also have depictions that look a lot more. And here I'll go to a little different image. We see depictions that are more heart-like. And these are probably human hearts. They're fairly realistic depictions. This is not the stylized Western sort of dual-lobed thing that you give to your Valentine somewhere in the middle of February. No, these are fairly realistic depictions, which tells us that they do have interaction with human anatomy. We also see from Teotihuacan a great deal of interaction with the Maya. We see common ideas between the peoples of Teotihuacan and the Mayans to the south. This does not mean that they are the same group. In fact, in Mesoamerica, we believe that these are two independent groups, and the Maya are kind of loosely associated anyway. So we do see a lot of trade. We do see a lot of commonality passing back and forth, because when you have trade, such as the jade mask, you also have trade of ideas, trade of culture, trade of art. And so we're seeing some of that here. That's why this is very reminiscent of some of the Mayan images that we will look at later.